The tale unfolds in a mystical realm shared by 9 distinct races: dragonutes, elves, onests, dwarves, demons, dark elves, centaurs, beastfolk, and humans. Among them is a young man named Light, a hopeful adventurer determined to leave his humble hometown to seek fortune and strength for the sake of his family. Upon arriving in a bustling city, Light struggles through the crowded streets while searching for the Adventurers Guild. When he finally steps inside, he introduces himself to the receptionist, who offers to register him as a beginner. She explains that every newcomer starts at the lowest rank, F, and asks if he has a special skill. Light reveals his unique ability, Unlimited Gacha, which lets him draw random cards and summon items from them. Curious, he demonstrates by summoning a rusty fork, leaving the receptionist speechless. Flustered, he tries again, but only manages to produce spoiled food. Embarrassed by his poor luck, Light earns nothing more than the lowest rank and receives his adventurer's card. When he asks about available quests, the receptionist points him to the job board, only to realize that Light can't read. Pitying him, she reads out the tasks herself, and Light eagerly accepts simple chores in hopes of earning some money. After a full day's work, he finally gathers enough to rent a room. Unfortunately, his relief doesn't last. A gang of beastfolk ambushes him, their leader striking him down and stealing his hard-earned coins. The wolf-headed ringleader mocks Light's weakness before leaving with his laughing crew, while the surrounding crowd ignores the beaten boy. Just when he feels completely abandoned, a kind elf approaches and helps him up. Though embarrassed, Light is touched by her compassion. She introduces herself as Sasha, and alongside her companions, she presents the Concord of Tribes, a group of adventurers representing 8 of the 9 races. The beastman Geru explains that they are searching for a human to complete their fellowship. Shocked yet honored, Light accepts their invitation to join. Together, they venture into the Abyss, a treacherous dungeon. When a massive worm monster lunges at Light, Geru cuts it down instantly. Another attacks from behind, but Sasha saves him with her bow, then scolds him for his recklessness, warning that the Abyss is no place for carelessness. As she tends to his injuries, the others tease her for acting overly protective, which leaves her blushing and defensive. Trying to lighten the mood, Drago praises Light for always making excellent tea for the team, which boosts his spirits. With their morale lifted, the group pushes deeper into the dungeon. When they finally stop at what looks like a dead end, Light assumes it's time for a break and begins preparing tea for his companions. Just as Light is preparing tea for his companions, Drago abruptly tells him there's no need, because they are expelling him from the party. At first, Light assumes it's a cruel joke, but Drago's stern tone makes it clear he's serious. One by one, the others echo the decision. Geru explains that their group has no use for him, while Sasha mocks his foolishness. Even Sion and Nano join in, belittling him as worthless. Confused and hurt, Light asks why they would betray him after treating him so kindly before. Geru reveals the truth. Their kindness was an act to lure him in. They only wanted him because of his unlimited gacha ability, hoping it would make him a legendary powerhouse. But since it only produced worthless junk, they now see him as nothing more than a burden. Geru sneers that he's just a talentless human who is destined to fail. Sasha even admits she's glad to be free of him, dreaming instead of marrying her master rather than staying tied to someone so pathetic. As Light reels from the betrayal, the group decides they can't just let him go. He knows too much. Geru slashes his cheek to draw blood, and the others coldly watch as he tries to flee. Sasha shoots an arrow into his leg, forcing him to collapse in agony. Geru kicks him brutally, enjoying his suffering, until Sasha reminds him they must make his death look accidental. Preparing for a final strike, Geru raises his claws, savoring Light's desperation as he crawls for survival. Just as the end seems certain, Light's hand presses against a hidden teleportation trap. Drago urges Geru to kill him before it activates, but the magic whisks Light away in the nick of time. He awakens deep within the dungeon, battered and bleeding. Fear grips him as he realizes that, in his condition, even a weak monster could finish him. Memories of his family and of the party's false kindness break him down into tears, but sorrow soon gives way to rage. Betrayed and abandoned, Light swears to exact vengeance on them all. His vow is interrupted by a chilling presence. Turning, he finds a terrifying level 1 Orthus beast staring him down. Shocked that such a creature exists here, he realizes the teleport trap must have sent him to the deepest layer of the abyss. With no other option, Light desperately spams his unlimited gacha ability, praying for a miracle. At last, a massive magic circle appears before him. Light stares in disbelief as his gacha device radiates an overwhelming aura, summoning an ancient fairy before his eyes. The mysterious being instantly recognizes him as her master, and with effortless grace, slices the monstrous Orthus into pieces. Its remains scatter across the ground, and the fairy lands gently, clearing away the debris with a flick of her hand. Kneeling before him, she heals Light's wounds with magic and apologizes for acting without permission, saying she couldn't bear to see him hurt. Shocked, Light introduces himself, struggling to believe he has just pulled one of the most powerful fairies in existence. Enchanted by his name, the fairy repeats it fondly before swearing her eternal loyalty. When Light awkwardly asks for her name, she introduces herself as May, the legendary ever-seeking Maid, a level 99,999 super ultra rare card. At first, Light doubts her words, insisting his gacha only ever produced junk, but May assures him that he's worthy of her and begs him to accept her as his servant. Moved by her sincerity, he agrees, and May thanks him deeply. She then asks permission to appraise his ability, revealing she possesses the skill. With his consent, her eyes glow as she analyzes him, discovering that his gacha holds layers of hidden power. May explains that the reason his gacha seemed useless was because the surface world lacked mana. In contrast, the abyss is overflowing with it, allowing his ability to draw far stronger results. She clarifies the ranking system of his cards, from the lowest error rank up to extra and super ultra rare. To her, Light's survival and his pull of her card prove his true potential. But when she praises him for coming to the abyss, Light bitterly reveals the truth. He was betrayed by his party, beaten, mocked, and left for dead. As he vents his pain and recalls their cruel words, tears stream down his face. Collapsing to his knees, he declares he will never forgive them. May embraces him gently, promising to use her power to give the Concord the punishment they deserve. Light, however, refuses to take the easy path. Though May urges him not to show mercy, he insists on becoming strong enough to defeat them himself, without relying solely on her might. May is impressed by his determination and pledges unwavering support. Smiling for the first time since his betrayal, Light activates his gacha once more. Fueled by the abyss's infinite mana, giant magic circles appear around him, summoning incredible tools and weapons. With May by his side, Light takes his first steps toward building an empire, one that will ensure his rise and eventual revenge. 3 years have passed since that fateful day, and Light now reigns over a grand palace filled with hundreds of devoted maids. True to her word, May remains faithfully by his side, just as she promised when they first met. The maids adore their master, cheering him on eagerly whenever he appears, thrilled just to be acknowledged by him. May, ever the strict one, reminds them to maintain proper decorum as Light steps out of the palace and strolls toward the bustling marketplace. Locals immediately recognize him. One cheerful vendor invites him to join for breakfast, while others complain about the shortage of snacks in the kingdom. Light assures them he'll handle the matter soon, though May insists he leaves such trivial concerns to her, promising to fix the logistical issues quickly. As Light observes the growing city, he realizes a new logistics system will be necessary. The population has multiplied several times over in just 3 years. Curious, he asks May about his legendary summons. She reports that Yuki, the beast tamer, is out exploring the forests and mapping the dungeons nearby. Light knows those dangerous woods are no match for her exceptional skills. May continues, explaining that Ellie, the mage, is diligently researching a complex spell that's central to Light's grand design. He wonders if she can truly pull it off, given the intricate nature of the magic involved. When he asks about Naz, the vampire knight, fierce in battle but not exactly the brightest, May chuckles, saying she assigned Naz to patrol the castle grounds to keep her occupied and out of trouble. Light doesn't mind. Naz's antics bring some life to the palace. Before long, Light returns to the castle, where he's greeted by Jack, the last of his 4 legendary summons, who asks if he's ready for a training session. May grows irritated when Jack forgets to address Light properly as Master. but Jack simply shrugs it off, unbothered. Light laughs it off too, saying he sees Jack more like an older brother anyway and agrees to train. Inside the training arena, the two face off. With a sudden burst of speed, Light dashes forward, landing a solid punch to Jack's abdomen, sending him sliding back. Jack grins proudly, impressed by Light's growing strength, remarking that any ordinary adventurer would have been killed by that hit. But Jack's built tough, strong enough to take a beating. They clash again, trading blows until Light launches another flurry of strikes that Jack narrowly avoids. Meanwhile, Naz continues her patrol through the castle corridors, humming absent-mindedly until a group of maids greets her warmly. They praise her for keeping everyone safe and tease her with sweet compliments, which make Naz beam with pride, exactly what they were aiming for. Mischievously, the maids suggest she go check if Light's bedroom is secure, just in case. Delighted by the idea, Naz marches off to inspect the master's quarters. But as she reaches for the door, it swings open, and May steps out from inside. Naz blinks in confusion, wondering why May was in Light's room when he's clearly supposed to be at training. May's cheeks instantly turn red as she stammers, insisting that she was only cleaning Light's room while he was away. Naz, staying true to her duty, declares that she needs to inspect the chamber for any possible threats. Before May can stop her, the ever-clueless knight pushes her way inside and notices the bed in complete disarray. Naz tilts her head, commenting that it looks like someone had been rolling around on it, sniffing the pillows, and asks if May made it look that way on purpose. Thinking fast, May decides to play along and boldly claims that it's part of her special bed-making technique. Surprisingly, Naz buys it, her eyes lighting up as she asks if she can learn how to do it too. May quickly declines, saying it's a unique skill that can't be taught to anyone else just yet. Suddenly remembering something, Naz pulls out a rolled-up parchment and hands it to May. It's a note from the other maids, a not-so-subtle complaint accusing May of hogging Light's room and never allowing anyone else to clean it. Reading the message, May sighs but keeps her composure. She assures Naz she'll handle it personally, then discreetly slips her some coins, asking her to keep quiet about the matter. Ecstatic at the small bribe, Naz happily accepts and skips away toward the marketplace. There, she immediately starts eyeing all the delicious food stalls before settling on a plate of fluffy pancakes and a glass of fresh milk. Once full and satisfied, she heads back toward the castle, where she spots Yuki lounging on a balcony. Naz calls out, asking if Yuki's finished her forest duties yet. Looking slightly annoyed, Yuki lifts a parchment map she's been working on, saying she's already done with the survey and is returning to hand it in to May. Naz praises her efforts before returning to her usual patrol route. Eventually, Naz wanders into the empty throne room. Seeing no one around, she gleefully lets out a loud scream, echoing through the massive hall. Feeling mischievous, she climbs up onto the throne and begins to play around. But her fun abruptly ends when she accidentally snaps off a wing from one of the angel statues nearby. Panic floods her face as she hurriedly tries to stick it back in place before bolting out of the room in terror, desperate to avoid May's wrath. Meanwhile, back at the training grounds, Light and Jack continue their fierce sparring session. After several intense exchanges, Jack suggests they call it a day and hit the baths. Once inside the massive bath chamber, the two relax in the steaming water. Jack praises Light's rapid progress, saying his power has grown to the point where dungeon monsters would barely pose a challenge anymore. Still, he warns Light that there are enemies out there waiting for the right moment to strike. Light's expression hardens as memories of his betrayal from 3 years ago surface. With quiet determination, he vows that he won't rest until he's avenged what was done to him. Back in May's chambers, she summons 4 of the palace maids, the same ones behind the letter. Reading their message aloud, she demands to know what their problem is. The maids fumble for words, their earlier boldness gone. Nervously, they apologize, explaining that the letter wasn't meant as rebellion, but as a sign of concern. They just wanted to help ease her workload. May softens slightly, but still denies their request to clean Light's room. Instead, she assigns them a new task: to scrub the entire hallway leading to the throne room by hand. The maids gasp, protesting that the hallway is enormous, but May coldly tells them to get to work. It'll keep them occupied while she accompanies Light on a mission. Outside the castle, Naz once again finds herself staring longingly through a shop window at a shiny pair of gauntlets she can't afford. While she's lost in thought, she bumps into Ellie, who asks what she's looking at. Naz points to the gauntlet, then curiously asks why Ellie is back already. Wasn't she supposed to oversee the new construction? Ellie smirks, admitting that everything's running smoothly, so she decided to sneak in a little break. As the two walked together, Naz and Ellie soon began their usual bickering, this time over who was closer to Light and who held a more important place by his side. Ellie proudly declared that she was directly involved in Light's master plan for revenge, something Naz wasn't part of. With a teasing smirk, she added that she'd even shared a relaxing evening tea with him recently, where they discussed progress and future strategies, and hinted that next time she planned to invite him for a private dinner. Naz puffed out her cheeks, saying she wanted to share tea with the master too. She reminded Ellie that she specialized in close quarters combat, so if Ellie ever needed help on the battlefield, she could call on her anytime. Ellie chuckled softly, promising she'd take her up on that someday. With that, Naz returned her usual brainless patrol routine. Back into the palace, the four troublesome maids were once again gossiping and plotting. Frustrated by May's strictness, they compared her to a certain angry little man from Germany, complaining about how controlling she was. One of them even suggested tattling to Light, but they quickly dismissed the idea. None of them wanted to face May's wrath again. As they talked, one maid pointed out that Light probably favored May because she was his very first summon. Another, the purple-haired one, reminded them that it took Light nearly 2 months to summon Yuki after that, meaning Light and May were alone together in the dungeons all that time. Jealousy immediately filled the room, and the maids started whining, rolling around, and acting dramatically before deciding to perform some voodoo nonsense to get May out of the picture. Unfortunately for them, May happened to overhear every word. She burst into the room, cornering them with a chilling smile. The maids instantly panicked, apologizing over and over, saying they were only jealous and didn't mean any of it. May sighed and told them to stop imagining ridiculous things. Back when it was just her and Light, he spent all his time mastering magic and training in every martial art he could, so there was no time for anything else. Relieved, the maids exhaled in unison. But May wasn't done. She explained that she'd actually come to lighten their workload, but after hearing this nonsense, she realized she'd been far too kind. So as punishment, she ordered them to scrub the entire throne room spotless. With no way out, the maids obeyed in silence, terrified of making things worse. While cleaning, the green-haired one accidentally knocked over the broken angel wing statue that Naz had damaged earlier. The piece hit the ground with a loud crack. All four froze in horror, assuming they'd done it, and knowing that if May found out, they were doomed. The next morning, Light entered the dungeon where Naz, Ellie, and Yuki were already waiting for him. He greeted them with a calm smile, though Naz and Ellie immediately started sniping at each other again. But before anyone could say more, a shadow moved, and a massive hellhound emerged from the darkness. The sight froze Light in his tracks. Even though he'd grown much stronger, the memory of that creature from 3 years ago clawed back at him, his blood running cold. His companions, however, were furious that the monster dared to upset their master. Naz drew her weapon, ready to slice it to bits. Ellie asked for permission to wipe out every last hellhound on the planet. Yuki calmly wondered if she could find hell itself and toss the beast into its deepest pit. The air around them crackled with power, and even the hellhound began to tremble, realizing it was hopelessly outmatched. But Light quickly composed himself and raised a hand, signaling them to stand down. He stepped toward the terrified creature and gently patted its head, reassuring it. He knew that if he gave the order, even as a joke, his legendary summons would actually destroy the entire species. Turning to his team, Light's expression hardened with purpose. "It's time," he said quietly. "We're heading to the surface. Our revenge begins today." And that's where this story ends. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next chapter.